Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm a software engineer and former university professor, and today we're going to be continuing on with our build of the Amazon clone. So, without further ado, let's get started. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat below. All right, so we finished building out our checkout page here. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we're actually going to want to go back to the beginning and build out our dashboard, because as you can see, the dashboard has not been built out yet, but it is one of the most essential parts of our project here. So let's go ahead and build that out. So if we take a look in our example here, we can see that there's a few different elements we need to think about. So there's this like background, sort of like hero-esque kind of component here. There are a bunch of different sort of like categories, like grouped categories of different products that they offer. So we have clothing, electronic, jewels, women's clothing, etc., like that. Cool. And then there are also these sort of more specific individual items that we have here. All right, so let's go ahead and let's build out this portion here. So as you know, all of the different sort of assets that you might need are already linked in the public folder here. If you do use this particular repository, the Amazon repository, it's available on my GitHub if you want to check it out. But I think the one that we're going to need is the one called dashboard1. Yeah, so this is the file we're going to be working with for that header piece. But before we even get that far, let's go ahead and actually initialize what we need for this page. All right, so first things first, on the dash, let's see, it's gonna be on our home page here. So what I'm gonna do is actually create another component, and I'm gonna call it dashboard. I'll save that. There we go, and we'll build out that dashboard there. All right, then we should actually hook it up to the page so that it knows what we're looking for. Nope, not that one. Import dashboard from component/dashboard. Perfect. And give it a second and that should show up. Awesome. So we have our dashboard showing up here. We can get rid of this line that says home right there. So looking at our dashboard, as I said, we have this container here, like we've had on a lot of our pages. So I think what I'm going to do first is actually start by getting that container actually set up and ready to go. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to change this into a container instead of having it as a box. So container from material UI. Oops. And save that there. And we don't need it to, it should be the default export. Perfect. All right, good to go. Looking pretty good there. All right, let's exit out of this page for the time being and hop into the dashboard page. So now on the dashboard page, what we want to do is we want to break out these different components here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by making a flex box, and then I'm actually going to align it by columns so that this image has a place, and then these four boxes have a place, and then everything will fall in line like that. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll say box. And we'll say display flex, and we'll save that. Awesome. And then first things first, let's import that image. So we'll say image from next image, and the source is going to be slash dashboard. Oops. Dashboard -1.png. And the alt is going to be, let's say, I think it was gaming controller add. And then the size, I can actually just query for the size. Let's say, doing a little inspect here. The width is 1150 and the height is 450. So you can just use those. So I'll say width equals 1150. Height equals 450, and there we go. Oh, you know what? It's gonna tell me that. I think it's because of this import here, box, that it needs to be a client-side component. So let's see if changing this up will work here. Save that. Okay. Oops. Okay, awesome. But the image source is wrong. Dashboard 1 dash JPG. That's what the issue is. JPG. Cool. Awesome. Looking pretty good. Yeah, and if you do have any questions or comments or thoughts about this, please feel free to drop them in the chat below. I see one comment already. Will I be your mentor? If you do want to sign up for mentorship, go ahead and hit that first link in the description. It's going to take you to our website called Davidson Programming Academy, where you can sign up for a free call with a mentor. You can try out our memberships. You can go ahead and learn how to become a front-end engineer if that's something that you're interested in, or just sign up for mentorship lessons if you are not really looking for the whole package of learning how to code. So yeah, a bunch of options available on the website. That's davidsonprogrammingacademy.com. First link in the description there. All right, so now that we have our top box here, what we want to do now is introduce these 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes down below. And the really interesting thing about these is that, you know, we don't necessarily have an API that's going to return top deal available now, editor's picking for you. So we might have to do some like sort of just shoving the data in there kind of thing, but we can think about it a little bit as we do our implementation. So first things first, let's go ahead and build these white cards, because if you notice, they're pretty much all the same white card with a Shop Now button at the bottom. So I'm going to go and actually build a couple of custom cards. So I'm going to say new file. I'm going to call it small card.tsx. I'm going to save that there. Awesome. And this is going to be wrapped in a box. And then what small card is going to need to have is this like heading here, the image, and this like shop now text at the bottom here. So we'll take in those params. So let's say image, header, heading. And I think the link is the same and all, so we'll just leave that as is. And then we'll say image, which is going to be of a string, and heading, which is also going to be of a string. Cool. And then I'm just going to use the typography element here. I'm going to say h or variant equals h2, and we're going to drop the heading within the variant here. Cool. And then the second thing we need is that image. So we're going to say image, and we're going to use next image again. And the source is going to be image, and the alt is going to be product. Or it's actually, let's do something a bit more dynamic. Let's say whatever the heading name is, heading, and then we'll put a dash product. Or maybe without the dash, because there won't be a dash in the heading. So whatever, it's like top deal product, so that they know that it's the sort of that whatever product is relevant to that. And then we'll just drop in that shop now button at the bottom there, and we can use our product link text for that. Save that there. It's going to say shop now. Capital N. And we'll just go ahead and import that. All right, awesome. Looking pretty good. Next thing we're going to want to do is import this into the dashboard page. So now is the time so we can sort of make a decision about how we're going to use and grab our data from this. So the way that we're going to grab our data, I think what we're going to do is we are going to probably hard code the data, as this is like a sort of portfolio kind of piece. But what you could do is actually create some sort of API route for like, you can do some sort of find for like which product has the highest number of reviews and grab that instead, and maybe say like call that the top deal, or you know, depending on how much data you have, you can work with it in a unique way. So what I am going to do though is just what I said. So we're going to create basically an array. I'm going to say const, what should we say? Hero data. We'll treat this like the hero. And then it's going to be an array of objects where we have the header. Did they say heading? Heading, which is going to be, first one's going to be top deals. And then we're going to have the image, which is going to be whatever that string is. And so then what we're going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste that. And at the next, sort of in this next piece here, I'm going to make this a flex direction of column. But yeah, in this bottom piece here now, what I'm going to do is take the hero data and I'm going to map over it. So for each what do you even call these? Each product, let's say, we're going to say this, and we're going to return a small card. And then with our small card now, we're going to say heading is going to be equal to product dot heading, and then image is going to be equal to product dot image. There we go. Cool. Oh, and it's missing the key prop, which we can say key is product dot image, or product dot heading, because that should be unique. All right, cool. So we're set there. And it's giving me an error because because these are default, not default imports, I should say. So we'll do that. And then copy and paste that. Change these two to be typography. Cool. And we'll save that. Awesome. Looking pretty good there. And we have our 4 top deals. Good. There are no images because we haven't set that up yet, but it's looking good so far. Next thing I'm going to want to do actually is set this to be a flex box as well, this like outer box that contains these, so that they'll flow across nicely from left to right. So let me create a box surrounding that, and put that there. I'll say display flex. All right. Appreciate all you watching in the comments section there. Yeah, if you do have any questions about the build, please feel free to drop them down below. Appreciate all the likes and the subscriptions as well. All right, so cool. We have our 4 boxes here. Good to go. Let's now go ahead and actually grab the data. So let's see how one of the easiest ways I think we could do this is actually just by utilizing one of our existing components. So we have our, what do we have here? Our search products. What I'm thinking, yeah, on our search page here. So I'm just going to do a console.log of our filtered products here. Or actually, yeah, our filtered products on this page here. And I can actually remove these 2 imports because we don't use them. But yeah, I'm going to do a console.log of our filtered products, and then I can go ahead and grab some details from each of those. So if I go into here, and I'll do a little search for the letter S. Oh, I forgot that we do this infinite loop. So let's go ahead and stop that. Go back to the console and just grab one of these here. And what I want to do is just grab some of this data. So I think what I'm going to do in order to match the design, we're going to grab the Fjallraven, which I believe is the last option here. Yeah, this is Fjallraven backpack here. So I'm just going to grab the image link here for what we're working on. There we go. All right, so hopping back over to the dashboard here for the first one and the last one, we're going to use the Fjallraven backpack. So to sort of reinforce like, hey, this is our top deal and it's for you. So maybe you should really go ahead and buy this. So we'll use that one there. And then we want like some really cool images. So I think I'm going to go with this Western Digital Elements, whatever terabyte hard drive here. And then this leather jacket, because I think those look pretty cool. So, oh, 2 terabytes, sorry. So that is the 4th item here. Yep. And I'm going to grab this. And that one's going to be available now. Available now. And the image is going to be there. And then the last one's going to be that leather jacket. So it's going to be somewhere around here. It's the Lock and Love. Is it that one? No, Lock and Love. This one here. You're going to grab that. And it's going to be the editor's pick. Editor's pick. And we'll drop the image link in there. Awesome. Cool. So that's all set up. We have our hero data established, and we can go back to our home page here, our dashboard. Maybe do a little refresh. And oh, we're missing like information for the image. That's fine. Let's go ahead and fill that out. So for the width, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to go ahead and expect this. And I'm going to say, okay, width is 225, height is 300. So I'll go ahead and insert that. Width equals 225. Height is going to be 300. And we'll go ahead and save that there. And cool, we have it already set up. Now, as you'll notice, these images all have like a natural white background, which you probably remember from a couple of sections ago when we were working on the product cards. What we want to do is set up the white background for the entire piece here, as well as fix up a flex box and things of that nature. So I'm going to turn this also into a flex box. So we'll say display is flex, and we'll save that. So now everything is left to right, and then we're going to change it so the flex direction is column as well. Cool, we'll save that. Awesome, looking pretty good. Final thing I want to do here now is change the background color to be that white. So we're going to say, we're going to import from our colors. And again, the reason I like to use this colors file is so that if I do decide one day I want to go ahead and make a change, you know, set up a dark mode or whatever, I don't need to go change all the whites. You know, like every single place I've used white, I can just change the one instance of white, and then it will change all of the whites that we have on our within our project here. So great, now we have this white outline here. The other thing that we're going to do here, we're going to set it to be our justify content is going to be space between. Space between. We'll save that there. Or no, not justify content. Not for this box, sorry. It's going to be up here. This box here. We're going to say justify content is going to be space between. That's just going to give us some margin between the items naturally. All right, we'll hop back over here. And cool, looking pretty decent. I think I want to add some padding around these boxes here, just because, yeah, in our design, they do have a little bit of padding here. Not too much, maybe 1 rem. So let's go ahead and add that in our small card here. So we'll say padding equals 1 rem, and that's all the way around. All right, cool. And that's looking pretty decent. I think a couple little touches we might want to make. We might want to add some margin down below the header. Just add margin bottom of like, I don't know, 0.5 rem. Just a little bit of space there. And then maybe some equally some space below the, oops. Or, style below the image there. Margin bottom. Cool, and we'll save that there. Awesome. Looks pretty decent. I think, whoops. I think one thing we might want to do actually is set, I'm wondering if we should set like a minimum width for these boxes or anything like that. I'll think about it. But for now, I think, yeah, let me see what happens if I set a width equals 250. My images should be stored, or are my images stored in a database? Yes, they are. The images are actually stored, if you check out the first video in the series, the images are stored on Supabase. So I was just borrowing the URL from that database call to use in our project here. Good question. Let's say width equals, let's say 5 rem. Oh, of course, I should use the right syntax here. And 5 rem is obviously too small. Let's do 20. Save that there. A little bit too big, maybe 15. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. It just feels a little bit wider. So I think we're gonna roll with that for the time being. Am I using Node as backend? No, we are not using Node specifically as backend. We are using a hook to hook into our database using Next.js, which is using TypeScript and JavaScript. So yeah, we have not written like an explicitly Node-based, like in the typical sense of how you think of it, like writing out like an Express server using Node. We're not doing that in this. It's actually just all in this use Supabase file that I'll show you guys in a little bit. So yeah, but you see, if you go back a little bit, you'll see that we set it up earlier. All right, cool. Next that we're gonna do here so we have our four boxes here. We're gonna actually create a like these wider, whatever you want to call them, like strips. We're gonna create those strips there. And sorry, one other thing we're gonna do, we want to move these boxes up because there's sort of this like overlapping effect here that's going on. So what I'm actually gonna do is translate this box, this larger box that's containing all of these details. I'm gonna translate it up. So we're gonna say transform. We're gonna say translate y. I'm gonna say minus 8 rem. Cool. Let's try maybe 12. Is that 12? Okay. 15. Yeah, looks like it's about 15. That's pretty good. I'm pretty content with that. So let's hop into the strips now. So the next piece is we built our small card. Let's go ahead and build wide cards. And these are just going to be generic cards so that we can use them again for other opportunities if we so desire. So we'll do that. Turn this into a box. Make it a named import so we don't get our client error, because there's no real reason. Well, these actually might need to be client components anyway, but there was no reason for the other ones to be client components, the small cards. And you'll see why I'm saying that in just a second. So actually, no, these probably don't need to be client components. So let's get past the data. So yeah, what we're going to do here is actually even more simple. We're just going to have the heading, and then we're going to have the little, like the product information. But one thing I do, actually, you know what? One thing I do want to do with both of these, or just with these in particular, I want to make them clickable, like clickable products as well, so that when you click, you can go through to the products. And actually, we probably should have done that for this as well. Oh, we do have that. So maybe I just need to update that information as well. I can add in the ID and make that a link. But let's get started with it on these little ones here. So what we're going to do for that, so it's two things that need to happen. We basically need to return. So in our wide card here, we need to do two things. So we need to style the box. So we'll say background color, ground color, there we go, is colors dot white. Save that. Width is going to be the same as the image, which was 1150 pixels. And then height, let me go check it out. Height is going to be 200 pixels. I'll save that there. And colors did not import. Import. There we go. So that's what we need to do for that piece. But then what we want to do is take in like a list of products and map over that list of products and then return these image/link options here. So what that's going to look like is we're going to take in products is going to be product list. So we're going to grab that type from Supabase, save that. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to map over products.map. We're going to map over it for each product. And we are going to return an image wrapped in a link. So we're going to use link from next link, and we're going to then return an image. All right, and so what that's going to look like is, first we'll make a key here so it isn't mad at us. We'll use product.id. And then we're going to say our href now for the link is going to be similar to what we do in our search page. We're going to set our href to be /product, I believe it is, /product.id. Oops, .id, and save that. So like right now, when we go and we click on a product, it's like /product/2. So we want that same thing to happen in our when we click on our images here. So now for the image, we're going to say the source is going to be equal to product.image. The alt is going to be product.title. And the width is going to be, again, something we can just easily look at here. And again, recommend checking these sort of details out when you are trying to make a clone of another site. Width is going to be 125, height is going to be 150. So say width 125, height equals 150. And we'll save that, and does not support attributes. Oh, you know what? We didn't import it. That's why I was like, why is it upset? Import image from next image, and that should fix that issue. Cool. And it's telling me here that it's not sure that they exist, but because we control our data, we know that these exist, so you can just assert that they do exist. Again, if you don't know that your data exists, don't do that, but we know that our data exists, so we can do that. And also, this is not a production site. So next thing that we're going to want to do here, so we have this is our dashboard page. We have our larger box, our dashboard image with the gaming controller. We have the box with the small cards. Now we need a box for the large cards, but it's actually going to be like a box with boxes. So let me explain. This box is going to be we're gonna have 4 categories. So we're gonna have bestsellers in clothing, bestsellers in electronics, bestsellers in jewelry, bestsellers in women's clothing. So let's start by make an array for that data. And you know what? This is getting a little bit crowded. So what I'm going to actually do here, I'm just going to create a new file, and I'm just going to call it dashboard data.ts. And I'm going to move some of this stuff in here so that our files don't get super crowded. So I'm just moving over the hero data that we just wrote up earlier. You call it mock data, you call it whatever you want, but just so that is out of the way a little bit. Cool. All right, so we have our hero data. Next thing we want to do is create sort of like the category headers, I guess we can call them. And we want to name them as following. Say bestsellers in clothing, electronics, jewelry, women's clothing. So say best sellers in clothing, and then I'm just going to copy and paste the following. Oops. Clothing, electronics, jewelry, and then women's clothing. And you can do any categories you want. These are the ones I've just chosen because I know they're available in our database. So we have our category headers here. So why did I go ahead and create these? Well, that's because what I want to do here is take our category headers. I want to map through those. And for each category, I want to go ahead and return I want to return one of these wildcards. So one of these boxes here. So we'll say return a wide card. Cool. And it's probably set because it doesn't have a key. So we're going to say the key is going to be the category there. There we go. Cool. And yes, it's telling me products is missing and products is missing. So how are we going to grab products? Well, in order to grab products, we need to actually set up our, use Supabase. We need to actually set up a few more calls to our API in order to grab calls directly, but more so filters of the data that we're getting back from our API so that we can actually get specifically what we're looking for, if that makes sense. So how we're going to do this is we are actually going to take the individual categories that we're working with, and we're going to do some sort of like filter something like that for what we're working on. So like let's take a simple category like jewelry, for instance. If we check it out in our Supabase section here, we can see that we do have an individual category called jewelry. So what we can do there is that we can just check for our individual products, our jewelry items there. So we can check for these four items there. So if I go back to my dashboard here, let me just comment this out because it's getting upset. I want you guys to see what we're doing. All right, so yeah, if we go back to our dashboard here, what we can do, there are a couple of ways we can handle this. But I think, first what I want to do is set up the get jewelry. So just like we did when we were grabbing our products or our filtered products, we're going to set up a const. And we're going to say jewelry. And we're going to say set jewelry. We're going to say use state, type of product, array of products. And then we are going to set that like there. Then now down here, I'm going to say get const get jewelry. Yeah, okay, cool. And it's going to be the same as our get single product. In fact, I'm just going to copy this and didn't even spell const right. We can just change this to get jewelry. And again, all of this code is linked down below at the GitHub repository if you want to sort of follow along. So what we're doing here, right? We're getting the jewelry. We are waiting for Supabase. We're going to select from the table that we've called products. So that's all of our products. We want to select everything, but then we want to select it only if the category, so this is the part we're going to change here, if the category is equal to the word jewelry or is like the word jewelry or somehow contains the word jewelry or something like that. So what I'm going to try here, because something we've used before is the I like, which was good for features. We can do either I like or equal, but we can say I like, so is like, in the category column is like the word jewelry. So if we had maybe a men's jewelry, women's jewelry, it might be able to query for that as well. So we're going to say get jewelry. We're going to return both jewelry and get jewelry here in our hook. And so then when we go back to our dashboard, we're going to turn this into a client component now because it's going to give us an error unless we do. So we're going to say use client, save that there. And then at the top of our dashboard here, we're going to say const jewelry, jewelry. I feel like there's going to be a typo in here somewhere. And then we'll say get jewelry equals use Supabase. And we're going to use Supabase like that. And so we're going to grab those two from Supabase. Then in a use effect, we are going to call get jewelry here, just like that. Oh, and it's asking for ID because I didn't finish fixing this up. We don't actually need an ID here because we're just going to get anything in that category that includes the word that the category actually includes the word jewelry. So once we do that, we're going to pass this here so we don't have infinite loops. Jewelry. And what I'm going to do here in the category headers, we can actually modify this data a little bit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to set this to be an object. So I'm going to say heading is that, and then products are whatever. So in this case, I'm going to use jewelry for all of them, but we'll change that as we add in their hooks and their calls. So we'll say products, jewelry. Cool, we'll save that there. So then now at the bottom here, we can uncomment this and now pass in the products as a category dot products. And then the key can be actually product, or no, it could be still a category dot heading. And then what else did we say that we were passing in the heading? Oh no, we just said we're passing in products. We also need to pass in the heading, but we'll save that for now and take a look at what we get back. Oh, refresh the page here. And we have a big box. Okay, so far, so interesting. Let's go ahead and add in a typography element here. And we're going to use the heading here and see if we get anything in return. Let's say add in heading, and it's going to be a string type. And then we're going to pass in the heading, and we're going to make it an H2. All right. And then over here now, we're going to pass the heading, and it's going to be category dot heading. We'll save that there. Type boolean is not assignable to type string. Okay, cool. Just a minor. All right, cool. So we are getting back our individual titles, but interesting is we're not seeing our products. So let's make sure we've done everything correctly. So we've added in category. We've taken the products from our category, which is fine. And then we've gone to our card here, and then we've returned them their image, their title, whatever, and we've wrapped it in a link, and we've taken those products, and yeah, everything seems to be correct. So I think what's going on here is that we're not actually refetching when jewelry changes. So let's see if we can get, if we can have this refetch when jewelry changes. Let's go see if that works for us. Questions in the chat here. Do you need some sort of Mac processor to create images? No, these are actually, well, sorry. So again, going back to how we set this up, the images are actually hosted on this website called Fake Story API. They actually host those images. We've just taken the data from there and put it into our database. So no, haven't used any sort of processor to create that there. All right, cool. Next thing that we're gonna want to do. Another question was Redux Toolkit is the best for UI. Will you use it? So yeah, we're actually using Redux in the program here in the application to handle sort of the general UI state. It was good for this use case, but as I talked about yesterday, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good for all use cases. Sometimes you'll find that Redux Toolkit isn't the best for that. All right, so next thing that we're gonna do here, so yeah, let's figure out why we're not seeing our images. So let's do a console log of jewelry, console.log jewelry, and see what's going on here. Cool, yeah, and if you do have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and comment section. I kind of one eye monitoring that over there. And if you're watching this later, please feel free to drop any questions that you have in the comment section down below, because I do go back and check and see what folks have written on the site before. All right, so we're not getting anything so far. So that means either something is awry in our call here, or something is awry somewhere at some point. So let's go ahead and see if we can figure out what's going on here. Looks like the spelling of jewelry is correct. Oh, you know what? So silly. Instead of changing this up, this is why copying and pasting is so dangerous, because I copied it from here and I put it down here. It's setting the single product to data instead of set jewelry to data. So you definitely want to double check if you're ever going to copy and paste, because you'll make silly mistakes like that. All right, so refresh one more time. Cool, now we're getting our data. Awesome. I don't want an infinite refresh here, but you can see that it is working there. All right, let's remove these two here and see if it's still working there. All right, awesome, seems to be working. And if I click on one, it actually does take me to the page. So we're good, we're set up, we're good to go. Next thing I want to do now is actually just create the other 2 to 3 options here. So again, hopping back over to our data, we'll notice that we have categories like men's clothing, electronics, and women's clothing. Now, I'm going to use the specific like text categories of women's clothing and electronics, but for the clothing category, we'll do that one last. It's going to be a little bit different. So you'll see what I mean in a second, because we're not using the word, we're using the word clothing to grab that in a different way than we are with the other two. So super quick, let's just go ahead and create these two here. And another way you could do this is just to create some sort of like filter search. That's another easy way to do this. So let's do electronics. We'll say set electronics, and we'll attempt to do this better the second time. So we'll say down here, get electronics, and then here we'll say electronics. Right, there we go. And we'll say electronics. Get electronics. Yeah, the reason I haven't actually just used like the filtered products query for this, because you might be thinking like, why don't you just do that? Is because I would then need to set the filter. I would have to set different variables based on what the filter is. So it would still be a bit of a complicated action. So it's actually a little bit simpler to just separate what we're doing in here. Electronics, grab that. And then we're just gonna change this to electronics. And drop get electronics in here. Let's save that there. Let's check out. Awesome, so we're already seeing some electronics here. So that is working pretty well. Let's grab our clothing and we'll grab women's clothing, and we'll grab clothing. So we'll say, we'll do the same thing. We'll say women's clothing. Oops. It's women's clothing. Let's spell it like that. And then we'll actually create the variable here. Save that there. and we'll export to both of those as well. So women's clothing and get women's clothing. Great, awesome, looking pretty good. And we'll grab them in here as well. So we'll say women's clothing and get women's clothing. And then we'll once again call get women's clothing. And put that down here. Oops, and change this last one to women's clothing. All right, taking a look down here, and you can see that we are now getting women's clothing. If I give it a quick refresh, we see we're getting electronics, jewelry, and women's clothing here. So all of that looks pretty good. Now we just want to get clothing. Now, as I mentioned, clothing is going to be a little bit different from the other two, just because it's not going to be exactly how we've done it before. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if we go back to our hook here, you'll notice that in the way that we've set up these calls, we've used I like or is like, right? So I'm just going to set this one up for clothing. I could just take that out. There we go. However, setting it up for I like may or may not work with the way that we want to call our data. So let's try it. If it does work, then we actually have saved ourselves a lot of time. But if it doesn't work, we're going to have to try a slightly different approach. So let's change this to clothing and set clothing. And good to go there. And then we'll go back to our dashboard and import it at the top here. So we'll say clothing and get clothing. And you know what? I think I forgot to export it as well. So that might be a little bit difficult. Clothing, or return it, sorry. Get clothing. All right, cool. So that's there. Clothing is there. We'll say get clothing. Call that get clothing. Let me see why this is giving me an error. Did I spell it wrong? Entirely possible. Clothing, no, that seems to be right. Seems to be right. Why is it giving us an error here? Oh, just because we haven't used it. Don't worry, we're gonna use it. So let's drop it in the top here and save that there and see if it does return what we want it to return, which would be lovely. But no, it looks like we're getting absolutely nothing. And the reason for this is because the way the I like filter or is like filter works is just, it doesn't necessarily return matches or common things that you want to grab. And there are two things that I want to do here, right? I want to grab the, in the filter here, we want to grab things that are in the category clothing. But say there's also like another word, like the word clothing goes somewhere else in the description. Maybe we want to grab objects that also have a description of clothing. So we want to sort of use the thing that we used for our filter up here actually, and do something a lot more similar to this. So I'm going to grab this or that we used on our filter earlier and drop that down there. Yeah, and if you don't remember, we did this in the section where we actually set up our initial search. So you can just hop back to that section if you have questions about that one. So I'm going to grab this as well so that we can use it as part of our information down here for get clothing. Save that there. And yeah, looking pretty good. So I think now, one more thing. Instead of having the filter being passed in as a parameter, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change it up here. I'm going to say const filter equals clothing. I'm going to save that. And that should work. Let's see, get clothing. Okay, good to go. So now, if we check out best sellers in clothing, you'll see that we have all of our clothes here. So our call did work. We have men's clothing, women's clothing, all of the above. I think they're in order of ID. But yeah, and that seems to be working pretty well. We've already tested and clicked on them, and they seem to be opening up correctly to the right product. We'll do a few little tweaks now just to make this look a little bit more interesting. But other than that, I think we're pretty good to go. So I'm going to add in some padding to these boxes here just to fix up the style a little bit. So these are our wildcard boxes here. So let's add in some padding. Save that there. And then what else do we want to do? I think we want to add in some margin as well. Say margin 0.5 rem on the top and the bottom. Oh, and you know what? I think I'm just going to do a slice of products here because I don't want it to be too many products. So products dot slice 0, and let's say like 8. I'm not quite sure if 8 is too many or too few. Maybe 9. We'll do 8 for now, and we can add one more if we need. Let's add a little margin under the header here. Save that. And let's add some margin to the images themselves. Let's say for style equals margin, right? Let's say 0.5 rem and save that. Cool. And that looks pretty good. Pretty decent. I think the next thing that I'm going to want to do here now is actually connect these two so that they're in the same box. I think I should have put the transform on a higher box than what I did. Yeah, I put it on this box, and really it should be everything else on the page. So let's do that. Let's say box. Let's say sx equals that, and then we'll wrap this box around everything else on the page, and so that everything will move up together. Cool, and there we go. Pretty close. I think maybe this is a little bit too wide actually. Might have gone, oh yeah, because we do have the margin and the padding. So let's go ahead and actually shrink that down to 1100. And again, different ways of implementation mean that the styles might not be exactly 100% accurate. Maybe 25. Another way of doing this would just be to make it responsive. Just make it a responsive design or center align it or something so that you don't have to play around with the sizes so much. That's actually the preferred way to do this. Cool. So yeah, looking pretty good there. I think maybe I'll add a bit more margin actually to the top and bottom, just so there's a bit more room. But other than that, I think it looks pretty much like what we have here. So we have our dashboard page, we have our individual items, we have sort of click-throughs to the individual items so we can grab them there. And yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Let's check out what questions we have in the comments in the chat section. So are you making an API call to get the images? Yes, so we're calling the Supabase API and we're getting the images back from our database. Good question. Do you see AI as a threat to this kind of development? I think at the end of the day, there's always going to need to be a person to start some level of the process. Because like if there's a designer who gets a design, or maybe maybe AI starts the design, I don't know. And that's sort of like a larger question, you know, it's like, if there's somebody who creates the design, or if the AI can just ingest the design and spit this back out, then yeah, it could be a threat to this kind of development, you know, but are we at that point yet? Not quite sure about that. And then the other part of this is like, the AI program needs to be aware of not only the design and the responsiveness, which is sort of a given, and it could probably do that given responsive designs, but it also needs to be able to connect things to the back end and do it in a semantic way, and a way that's going to be able to be changed by the product team when they decide, you know, they want the layout to change. So I think it's definitely something that is going to be a possibility in the future, or has the chance, is a probability of the future. But is it something that's currently an issue and will be an issue tomorrow? I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem today. You know, 2024 February today. All right, cool. Yeah, and see a question down in the chat. Another question down in the chat here. Talking about job searching. If you are searching for jobs, I would definitely recommend checking out, you know, your LinkedIn, sites like that, but also the like lesser known sort of developer sites, or actually even looking at your like unique countries developer sites, because if you're based in Europe, you have different rights to work for different companies. So make sure you always have those filters on when you're filtering in LinkedIn. And then also, if you're searching for a job, this is something we talk about in my course a lot, but you definitely need to be applying more than you think. Not saying that you're not applying if you are looking for a job, but I remember when I got offered a position, one of the last positions I got offered, I applied for that job on the first day of applications, and I didn't get any information from the job back for over a month. So sometimes the job you end up getting is one of the first you submit to. It just takes so long for them to sort of go through the application, or even start looking at the applications, depending on what time of year it is in their sort of like work level. So I know it's not like, oh yeah, just wait it out. That's not really the best sort of advice, but it does take them quite a while to get back to you. Like 1 week, 2 weeks is really a very short amount of time for a lot of these applications. You think more in like the 1 month or 6 weeks sort of time frame. But all right, so we have our dashboard. Our dashboard is built out here. The next thing that we would probably want to build out, I don't know, what do you guys want to see next? Do you want to see the orders page? We could do the orders page. I think that would be a pretty cool page to build out. So the orders page now. The orders page is actually going to be built very similar. Well, we need to set up some Redux for it in order for us to be able to display, to know what was passed into the order. So let's go ahead and create the Redux for that first. Let me go ahead and first submit what we've done. So let's go ahead and say build dashboard page. Push those changes up so you guys can see them right away. But yeah, let's go ahead and build out that orders page. So if we check out our store here, we have our cart slice here, and our order slice is going to be pretty similar to the cart slice, to be honest, except it's only going to have one reducer. So the reason we need this slice is so that when the person hits proceed to checkout, the information actually goes somewhere. So let's go ahead and let's set that up. So first things first, I'm going to add in an orders reducer, and we're going to add a new file. We're going to say orders slice.ts. And then I'm going to copy everything from here, drop that in here, and import orders slice. Orders slice from /orders slice. Now remember we added persistent, so I'm going to need to add in a persisted orders reducer and take in my orders slice. And then I'm going to pass this persisted reducer. Whoops, copy that. I'm going to drop that down here. And that's how we're going to get our orders in our app. So we'll leave that there for now. Then we'll hop into our orders slice and we'll fix this up. So now here, everywhere we say cart, we want to replace this with orders. So orders state, because it's going to be the array of orders. Orders, add to orders. We're going to delete these two because we don't need them. And then remove this one because we don't need it. Get orders. And then we're going to change these to orders. Cool. And I think we've changed all the instances of cart on the page. So our order slice is set up essentially. So what it's doing here is we're starting with an initial state of no orders. Then we are going to add to orders by taking that state, grabbing whatever orders, taking that state of orders, and then pushing to the array, the empty array of orders, whatever we're getting in our payload from our action. So wherever we call this, we'll pass in that cart information and then send it to our orders. And then we can pass in other things like a date or whatever else, whatever the other information we want to pass. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So if we create a page, so let's create a new file, or new folder, sorry. We're going to call it orders. And we create a page, page.tsx. And we're going to call it orders page. Cool. We'll go ahead and set that up. Add that in there. We'll make this a container. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, the way we're going to set this page up is kind of similar to how we already have our cart page set up. So we have our container, we have our cart, etc., etc. So let's kind of model it after that. So we're going to say the max width is going to be XL, XL. And I'm going to do the default export for container. There. All right, cool. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a component. I'm going to call it orders. And I'm going to import that here. Oops. There we go. Cool. Let's go ahead and import that page or that component here. So we'll say orders. Awesome. So if we go back to our page here and we click on orders, did we hook it up? We're about to find out. We did hook it up. So in theory, this should actually work. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Finally loaded. All right, so we have our order set up, so we know that it's connected. So that's working. And again, kind of copying our cart design here, because it's not a very, well, we don't want to 100% copy it, because if you recall the orders page from an Amazon thing, it's like a large like white box. So let's try and build this one freestyle, because we don't actually have it in the example app. So I'm going to start with a box from Material UI, and this is going to end up being a client component because we do need to import our orders. And then within that box, I want to start off with an H1, typography. Oops. H1, we'll say my orders, because like you're logged into your account, my orders. All right, and then now below here, we're gonna want to loop or map through our orders and return an order item. So we'll create a new file. We'll say order item.tsx. And this is going to be another box. You know, I love to make these boxes. And it is going to take in an item, which is going to be of probably the product type, I think. Unless I decide to add some other information. But what it's going to be is, as I said, very much like a cart item. We're going to have, and if you want, if we can check out a cart item here, if I have any in there. Very much like this item, or no, you know what? It's not going to take an item because it's going to be a whole bunch of different items. Okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to say, oh, this is good. This is a good problem. It's not going to take an item. The order, what we want the order to display is like an image from the order. So I can even drop that in there. An image from the order. We want it to display like a header. It's like order and then like the date of the order. What else do we want? We want probably the total price. We'll say total price. And yeah, I think that might be it. So let's go ahead and hook up how we get the data for our order. So I think that's going to dictate a few things. So in our checkout or in our cart, there are two places we can do this. In our checkout, where is it? Was it checkout item? No. I think it's our summary, order summary. That's where it is. When we click on the purchase button, which is product. Oh, it's order total? No. Subtotal. Oh, it's here, right in front of my face. Place your order, and we have a console log.clicked right now. What we want to do instead is actually add an item to our order. So I'm going to go ahead and actually change up a few things. So let me close out a few of these that we're not using right now. Okay, so first things first. For our order slice, I'm going to change the format of it to be the items. So it's going to be an array of objects where we have items, which is an array, empty array, and then we have total price, which is going to be, it's going to start at 0, but it's going to be a number. And then we have the date, like the date the order was placed, and that's going to be a string. That's how we're going to set it up. So then now when I go to my checkout, that's what I'm going to want to pass. So when I say console.log clicked, instead I want to, let me import use dispatch. We're going to say const dispatch equal use dispatch, use app dispatch, because we want to use the type dispatch. Then we're going to say down in our console log, probably a few too many lines in this, we're going to say dispatch. Then we're going to say add to orders. And then we're going to pass in, what are we going to pass in? We're going to pass in item is going to be, or items, should be items. Yeah, items is going to be cart, total price is going to be order total, and date is going to be, we're going to make a new date. Let's see how to make a new date. I think you just say const date equals new date. Yeah. Const new date. Let's see how this works. All right, cool. Working pretty well. So let's do that. Let's say date equals new date. And let's go with that. Argument, type void, add to orders, type void. Oh, did I import it? Yeah, I did. import add to orders action.payload. How do we do it with cart? Let me check out add to cart. Oh, just the individual product. What if I take out the type of payload action? What happens? There we go. All right, cool. So it's just the incorrect type. Awesome. So that seems to work there. Then in our orders, not our orders, in our order page? No, yeah, in our orders, I had that right. We're going to want to get the order. So const orders. Or const, yeah, or let's see if it'll let us do orders, equals use app selector, and we're going to say get orders. And then with orders now, we're going to map through orders, say orders.map through each order, and then we want to return an order item. I'll save that there. And we need a key. So we're going to say key equals order dot date. I think that would be unique. And order, it doesn't have a type because we didn't write a type for order yet, but we should do that. Oh, and it's telling, I'm just missing all the props. Well, yes. So we'll say items. Oh, sorry, we have to change this. So it's not going to be item now. It's going to be items. It's going to be date. And what do I say? Price. Total price. So date is going to be a string. And total price is going to be a number. Should be. All right, and then we're going to pass in items equals order dot items, date equals order dot date, and total price equals order dot total. I think we called it total price. Total price. Whoops. Total price. We'll save that there. Yeah, we call it total price. Cool. So there we go. That's sorted. And then this is just giving an error because of the image. So we'll say, I'm wondering what the best way to do this. Maybe we could do a little box with the images. That may be cool. So like what I'm thinking is if we have a box, another box on the left-hand side here, and we take our images, or we say order dot items dot map, or sorry, items dot map. For each item, we want to return an image, but we just want to do it for the first like 4 max, because if it's more than 4, we don't want like 20 images. So we'll do an image here, and then we're going to say the source is going to be the item dot image. The alt is going to be the item dot title. And I'm thinking these are going to be pretty tiny, so I'm going to say width is going to be like 200, and not even that much. That's probably too big actually. Let's say width is 50 and height is like 75. Like I want to make like a little 4x4 kind of thing. Make sure to return this, and that should be good. What's it upset about? Oh, it's missing the key prop. Fair enough. key equals item dot title. We'll save that. I think it's just complaining. Oh, it's because we didn't import it. I was like, I've seen this one before. There we go. And then same issue, it's saying it doesn't exist. I'm going to say it does exist. Cool. So that is that. So if we've done this correctly, let's hop back over here. Let's go to our, okay. One more thing we need to do is we need to actually check out an order. So let me go back here. Let me add in this jacket, add to cart. Let's proceed to checkout. Actually, let me get one more item. Let's say add to cart, proceed to checkout. I said place my order, which is the button we've hooked up our action to. This should also be a redirect, so I'll add that in as well. So we'll say orders, go back here, and it's just saying my orders. What have we not hooked up? My orders, orders.map, use selector, get orders. We are exporting get orders, orders, add to orders. And then when we check out, place order, place your order. Oh, you know what? I hooked it up to one order button, but not that order button. That's what it was. I hooked it up to, no, proceed to checkout. Yeah, I hooked it up to this order button. That's what it was. All right, so we'll go back. We'll go to orders. All right, cool. So we have our first initial little thing there. Pretty cool. Let's go ahead and fix this up a little bit. So for our orders, order item, or let's start with order. So we have this larger box, and it's gonna be, let's make the background white. So let's say background color, colors.white. And then, as I said, I want to kind of make it like the cart page. So I think I might borrow some of these stylings. Cool. And then let's add some padding to rem. Oops. Cool. And let's add some padding or some margin. And then I think there was like a, is there like an HR on that page or something? Yeah. I think we actually don't want this here yet. I think what I want is the custom HR right there. I think I'm actually also going to borrow this price piece. Whoops, borrow that price piece there. And again, this is something we could create as a reusable component now that I'm like looking at it further. But I'm just going to borrow a few pieces here. Put that in a box. There we go. Cool. Awesome. So if I go back to orders, looking pretty similar there, but like full page, which I like. All right, cool. Next piece here, I said I want to, I think it's actually probably too wide now that I'm looking at it. So maybe we want the page to not be an extra large. Yeah, we'll keep it small. And then let's make up this little box here. So for order item, we're going to say display flex. I'm going to say flex wrap is wrap. And then we're going to say that the width of the box is going to be, what did I say? Each one is going to be 50, so let's call it 110. And that's kind of the look I'm going for. I want them to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4 in a box. Let's touch it up a little bit though. So we'll say style equals margin 0.25 rem. And we'll make the width 125. Width of these, maybe make it 55. That looks a little bit more proportionate. Cool. What else? Oh, we want all of this to be a flex box as well. So we'll say display flex. So we want it to line up next to one another. And then I'm going to wrap the images and the, oops, the date in a flex box. Oops. And then for the outer box here, I'm going to say justify content is going to be space between, so that pushes the price to the other side. Perfect. And then for the total price, we're going to go total price to fixed like we had earlier, just fixed of 2. So we get that total price at $sign there too. And then how do we want to grab the date now? Let's see. Oh, we can do it like this. Date equals year, month, index, day. That might be what we want to do. Let's say new date. Or is it just, oh, it's like saying that's the placeholder. Got you. So new date is just the actual date. And then how do we grab that object? Date, get day. Okay, we could call it get day on it. But that's going to be a lot of just moving things around. I don't want the day, I want the month and the date and the year. So when we get our date, let's set up const month. Let's say day equals const month equals const year. Whoops, year equals. So we'll say date dot get day, date dot get month. Ooh, and does not exist on type string. Okay, I'll have to change the type. Date dot get year. And so this is not actually of type string, it's of type date. I think. And it still thinks it's of type string. Does not exist on type date. Oh, interesting. But it just said year. Is it get? No, it's get year. Oh, it's deprecated. Got you. So it's get full year. Get full year. Documentation, very important. But like, see, I was able to just figure out what it was without just like even going into the documentation, just looking at it there. So we're gonna say order dot dates dot let's say, should we do it American or British? Let's say month slash day slash year. We'll save that. Check that out here. Let's see what we're working with. Oh, it is not a function, but it says it's a function. New date. that should work. Date. Maybe it's because I don't have it in order slice. Maybe if I pass it in new date. No, it's still saying it's not a function. Interesting. So we go to checkout, date, we say new date, order slice, we say new date, order item, date is of type date, we say get date. Should work. All right, let's see what we do return. Maybe we can do this a different way. Let's console.log date. Oh yeah, it's gonna give me a whole bunch of errors here. Let me just comment that out for the moment. All right, so we can just grab this in a different way. So we can say, let's say date dot, is it splice, array splice. Well, that changes it. We just want a slice of it, like a slice of pizza. All right, so array dot slice, date dot slice. I wonder if it's gonna work because it's a string. We'll see. We're gonna set it to be type any. Zero to 3 and see if that works. Or is it string dot, oh yeah, it's gonna give me here. There's like a string version of get slice. String slice. Oh, you can just do string dot slice because a string is like an array string. All right, so let's say oh yeah, and that needs to go away. Cool. All right, so we'll say string dot slice for the first one there, and then we'll say, or sorry, date dot slice those indices. I think we want to do, is it 4 to 6, something like that. We'll change it up as we need to, and then we'll say year dot slice 7 to 9 or something like that. All right, so let's see what this gives back. All right, not quite what we were looking for. Let's do 5 to 7. Let's do 8 to 10. There we go. Think, what did I do? Oh, I did it backwards. Month, day, 02, day, what's today? The 24th. And then year, day. Oh, I did it backwards. These two should change. That's what it was. All right. Year, day. I think I need one more. There we go. All right. So we'll say order from, and we'll say the variant here is going to be H2, or maybe H3. Order from that day, and that's what we have there. So pretty simple, pretty basic, but just a quick example of how to add in an order page without any design whatsoever, just based on the existing styles on your site. and yeah, how to provide your customer with some simple information. Now you can go further with this, of course. You can set up an order page, things like that. We could integrate testing. We could do a whole bunch of different things like that. But how far you take this project is totally 100% up to you. So yeah, if you do want to take it further, just keep going with it. If you do have any questions, comments, please leave them in the description below. Leave them in the chat below. I do follow back and answer every comment. Check out every comment. Check out every question. And if you do have any questions about anything we've worked on today, please let me know. As I said, if you're interested in learning how to code, you can check out our website. That's davidsonprogrammingacademy.com. And you will be able to learn how to become a front-end developer, learn all the ins and outs of development, or if you're just interested in booking a call and getting some mentorship information, you can also do that on the website as well. Just hop to our Calendly link there and book a call and chat about whatever you're interested in. All right, so if you do have any questions, please let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're interested, if you're new, and I will see you guys in the